All right, I want to continue the discussion on the riots in Los Angeles. I want to bring in retired Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, Executive Vice President here at the Family Research Council, spent 36 and a half years in the Army, previously served as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, also one of the founding members of the Delta Force. All right, the reason, General, I wanted to get your thoughts on this, is you and I have talked about this before. In addition to the National Guard, which that's what they're there for, frankly, to be used for domestic issues. But the mobilization of active duty military members is very rare in the history of our country. And the president activating 700 reportedly to go to Los Angeles. This is very unique.
It is indeed, and I must tell you, it bothers me a little bit because nobody wants to see another Kent State.
Right.
I mean, that would be the absolute worst thing that could happen. And we don't want to see any of our people get hurt. It's not that they are any different than law enforcement in terms of, their value to this nation, but at the same time, they have done the very best they could to fight the wars ever since 9/11. And the reserves and Guard have as well. But I think to put them into a situation where they could potentially wind up shooting somebody, or there could be some kind of incident that would bring them to the courtroom to where they would have to testify. And I don't want to see them.
And that now there is training for the military, but most of the training for the military is not domestic law enforcement, which is the role that they're playing here. Now, there's also a law that prohibits the use of U.S. military on U.S. soil.
Yeah, the posse comitatus. Now, you are aware that I have operated twice under posse comitatus. I mean, under what is called the Insurrection Act,
right,
which is how you
get over the
you
posse
get beyond the requirements there. But I will also tell you that at least in the one that at the Branch Davidian compound in 1993, I had two men there, and those two men were there handling some clandestine listening devices and videos and that type of thing. But when they went down, when they got ready to hit the compound, they made those guys go in another room and not look at the assault. And the reason was they didn't want them to have to testify. And we had we stressed that point to them before we gave them to them. Now,
there's the legal issue. I'm going to talk more about that with Ken Cuccinelli, former Attorney General of Virginia and acting Deputy Director at Homeland Security. I'm going to talk to him later about the legal aspects about this. We got 2 minutes left, General, but there's a perception issue here. Having military on the streets of America. Now, it's one thing you can argue, and there's probably been about a dozen times, maybe less, that has been used in the history of the country to use active duty military to protect federal property. But on the streets of a city like Los Angeles, the perception there could be problematic.
Absolutely. It's like a military state. I mean, that's what if you just look at the videos, it looks like a military state. That is not what we want. We want our military to be revered and respected, right, not feared.
Not used against its own citizens. And then the Patriot Act back after 9/11, something I was concerned about back then, and my concerns proved to be true, because you can't, while I might trust Donald Trump by using the military, a Democratic administration or someone else could do the same thing, and the outcome be much different, as it was with the Patriot Act.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous statement to start with. Look at what's happening here, and what are the Democrats doing here?
Yeah,
nothing except egging them on.
Yeah,
and making it worse.
But if they have, once precedent is set, we see it used again and again, and I would not want a Democratic administration using our nation's military on the streets of America. General, we're out of time. Always great to have you on the program. Thanks so much for coming in.
Good to be here, Tony.